Hello, viewers. Thank you for joining us here today. Data is the new oil is now a statement that the IT industry is well aware of. Irrespective of which vertical a company belongs to, data is at the core of decision making for any enterprise. But how can enterprises make sense of the massive volumes of data that is being generated every single second? That is where companies like Yubi, formerly known as CredAvenue, come in to help companies to make an informed decision with the aid of data. UB has achieved the unicorn status in a matter of just 18 months of its inception. As a tech company, UB instruments and ingests data from multiple internal and external platforms, which helps drive down the decision making time and drive up the efficiency of credit. At the helm of the company's data function is Mathangi Sri, the Chief Data Officer of UB. She is responsible for driving data governance while enabling data driven decisions across the organization. Today, it's a pleasure to have Mathangi here with us. Hi, Mathangi. It's good to have you here with us. Thank you for joining us here today.
Hi, Supriya. Thanks for the introduction. Lovely to meet you.
Yes.
Very happy to have the discussion with you.
Thank you, Matangi. The pleasure is ours. So, Matangi, like I was saying, making data-driven decisions is now more important than ever. So, what would you say companies need to do to ensure that they become data-driven?
Okay, so I have a little bit of history for data-driven decisions, right? So I would generally divide data-driven decisions into two phases, right?
Yeah.
One is human-led and data-assisted. That was the past era, right, where you had hypothesis testing and hypothesis coming from experts and domain experts, and data used as validation of whether those hypotheses were correct or not. From that phase, at least the last decade or so, we have progressed well into what I would like to call as data-led and human-governed decisions, right? So what is data-led? Data-led, again, has two legs to it. One is where we make several micro decisions at scale, right? So that is your classic example of data, of micro decisions at scale would be, let us say, your GPS tracking positions, like which route to take and what's your shortest path, etc. Are micro decisions at scale. The other part of data-led decision making is democratizing data and then enabling multiple stakeholders in the organizations and make data a property of everyone so that they are able to empower their teams and their decision making with data, right? So in the paradigm of the second phase, right, data no longer belongs to one department, right? They're not either blocked by it or only enabled by one part of a department. The function of data as a group becomes much broader. It is also enabling your what I would like to call as non-native data stakeholders, right? So this could be your sales organization, this could be your marketing organization, or this could be your clients, etc. They possibly are non-native to data as a team, and but how do you enable them to make data-driven decisions, right? So the micro decisions plus democratizing data is what we are seeing in this. The evolution of it in the last 10 years or so, making organizations more data led.
That's great to know, Matangi. Thank you for this insightful information. So, Matangi, there are data analytics is never possible without tools. So, if an enterprise is looking to become data driven, what would you say are some of the tools that they need to invest in?
So, see, I would like to make one comment before I exactly answer the tools question. So, data is slightly more than an engineering function, and hence data is also a strategy rather than only execution, right? So, for example, how do you think about your data vision, and how do you lay out the strategy? How do you co-opt with your stakeholders and the overall ecosystem in order to build a sustainable data company and sustainable data roadmap, right? So having said that, like if once an organization invests in the right set of teams and right set of processes and has the right buy-in for data-led growth, comes the tools perspective. More than tools, I would like to call it as stack, right? As a data stack. So today, a lot of this is cloud, and a lot of what traditionally used to happen, uh, by writing a bunch of scripts, have got scaled up into plug and play tools that we can operate. So the data ecosystem for UB operates out a lot out of AWS and AWS native toolkits, like SageMaker and things like that. But every organization, right, whatever cloud infrastructure that they're using, there is a data lake at which data comes, and this data lake is essentially out of either out of a cloud infrastructure, or the company can have its own data center, and hence their own provisioning for setting up the data lake. Then once your data lake, then you have tools available. There are various tools to make a data warehouse and data marts ready for consumption of downstream dashboards or downstream data science users, right? So there are very popular dashboards like Tableau, Power BI, ClickSense, and so on and so forth. We at UB again use QuickSet, which is native to the AWS stack, for dashboarding and monitoring purposes. And on the data science, Python rules the roost. It has also become a wrapper function around some of the not so Python libraries as well. But Python has a wrapper for almost everything. Be it TensorFlow, be it Keras, all the libraries are today available in Python. And so Python with Jupyter Notebook as an IDE is what many people go for. So that's the data science toolkit. Again, on the deployment side, MLflow is very common. MLflow with Jenkins, and we use SageMaker for deployment, and for MLflow for model repository and things like that. Right? So that's the and then we have again tools for data quality. We are exploring various tools on things like data quality, data cataloging, data lineage, etc. So all these areas have fundamentally a set of tools that is available, but it also requires a strategy to think through the data stack in itself, and how do these different pieces interact, and why do certain tools are needed, to where you want to develop native, is a decision that the data organization makes.
That was very technical, Matangi. Thank you so much for that. And Matangi, now there's a new term called data-driven transformation. One of the main reasons why these enterprises are looking forward to undergo this data-driven transformation is to give superior customer experience. So, how is UB helping these enterprises deliver superior customer experience?
Yeah, so see, customer experience has a interesting part to it, right? So one of the primary drivers to improve customer experience for any product is being very close to the customer, right? So if you are very close to the ground, and listen to your customer, then act based on what is a good experience, then you develop a customer experience. However, that does not mean every feature request comes from your customer, right? Then you are customizing and not developing customer experience. So customer experience in a product company is a play of listening to a lot of feedback on the ground from the customer. And you could listen feedback in two ways: latent or explicit, right? So explicit is your surveys that you conduct, or your sales folks reach out to them, understand it, or you get a lot of explicit feedback on customer support. Latent, however, is journey based, right? So I clicked a few pages and then I dropped off, right? I dropped off because I did not get information, possibly is the reason. Right? So that's latent. A lot of feedback is latent, right? If you really wait for 5% of your customers would give you surveys, or maybe 20, even in a product that is not very functioning well, maybe 20% are going to complain into customer support. But however, your latent feedback is 100%. Anytime I interact with the product or platform, I'm leaving my footprints and leaving my trails of what I liked and what I did not like, right? So we at UB analyze all of these, right? Latent and explicit feedbacks, and understand NPS is a cornerstone of our measurement, and that's something we are very, very particular about in a lot of these journeys. So we measure NPS. We hear to customer feedback, we log them. So some of these, and this is how we develop our product roadmap for the next quarter or the next half year, right? And they drive our North Star. See, we are also operating in a market where there are no per se equivalents, right? So we are the first movers in a lot of places. So given that, it's very important that we co-opt with the customers and the ecosystem in order to build our product, and that provides a delightful, customer experience, right? And data is a core to this. Understanding large scale feedback, understanding, like I said, latent feedback, data plays an important role. Tracking them, monitoring them, and influencing some of these into product roadmaps also becomes into the data charter. So that's, at least that's our view of how we do customer experience. Of course, not only our customers who are prospects and who are hesitating to take up the product because of a certain feature misses, also becomes part of our building our experience.
That's good, Matangi. And the solutions that you mentioned, right? There are several companies who claim that we offer similar services, but not all of them are able to achieve the unicorn status within 18 months. So, what would you say is the competitive advantage that UB has to offer? I mean, what is the one thing that really stands out in UB?
So one is, it's a 360 degree spread out in terms of both the products and services. Right? So we are building the debt lending infrastructure for the company, and that's how we view our mission. Right? Once that becomes the larger mission to view, then you're not restricted by per a specific bug in a product or a specific ask from one customer. Now you have a holistic picture, and that is the biggest competitive advantage, right? The product that we are building covers the entire spectrum, length and breadth of solving a debt need in the country, right? There are very specific financial products which we kind of groom, being very close to the customers. We are very strong on the investor side, so we have feedbacks that is coming in for the product, which helps us into an agile development methodology. But other than that, we are also not looking ourselves as fitting one infrastructure for a bank, right? Or solving a specific process problem. We are looking ourselves as a marketplace. So we are operating across the credit life cycle, be it from lenders and borrowers discovering each other, or be it taking it to the fulfillment and the transaction part of it, or post fulfillment journeys, or for early warning signals with entire credit life cycle, both from a borrower and a lender angle. If we are solving for it, and that is kind of giving us the competitive advantage, over others, and that's our moat.
Okay. Matangi, I mean, I mean, you mentioned all these products, right? There are a lot of new age products that you're coming out with. I mean, and you are a new age company. So, I'm sure you have large customers who are not as tech savvy and they might be, dealing with the legacy challenges. So, are there any sort of challenges that you face while delivering, while deploying your products, in such companies? And
So
how do you overcome those challenges? Yeah.
yeah, so we are heavily focused on integrations, with large banks and with some of the big players in the market. So that's our strong area. Just come answering your question from another angle of technology, and then focusing it more on data. To tell you, so we are solving some of the first time problems, right? These are problems. Possibly solved well in consumer scale, but at enterprise it requires a completely different lens to solve it, right? Starting from our recommendations, I'll give you a unique opportunity we have, right? Normally in a consumer company you do not have rich public data, but we have very rich public data that's available, well reported, etc. So that's an advantage for us to solve the problem. But however, your our click through rates or responses, to some of our recommendations it will not have the same throughput as a consumer company. So that becomes a challenge, right? So not only that, we are breaking ground in a lot of places. For example, the first time recommendation engine for enterprise lending we are developing, right? And enterprise large ticket size lending. That is something we are developing, right? We are also, looking at fraud as a problem, based on financial reporting and analyzing balance sheets, etc., at scale, right? So that's the second ground that we are breaking. We are also doing a lot of work on both unstructured data, right? Like, computer vision and natural language processing. Both have their own problems. See, computer vision generally people do for your KYC kind of problem, which is your PAN card, Aadhaar card kind of documents. But computer vision for invoices and agreements, etc., is a different ball game altogether. Right? So we are breaking ground there. We are also looking at vernacularization of a lot of this, because especially when it comes to recovery, the end consumer calls, people are not comfortable with English is a small percentage of native speakers, like fluent speakers in India. So we want to vernacularize our conversational bots, right? So we're building conversational bots in the recovery area, again, may possibly for the first time in the country, for vernacular languages, for very specific decision making. Again, we cannot use, for example, some of the existing language libraries that is available, because these language libraries are either built for consumer specific use cases. Deep fintech, there are not many out of the box solutions that we could use. So given we are breaking ground in literally every space, every data science problem that we solve, there is a problem that we are very specifically solving for the enterprise lending space. Those are the challenges. They're also very exciting. Any data scientist out there who likes to solve problems for the first time, this is a great place to be. And I'm personally enjoying that part of it. We are also one of the few companies who is so convinced about data governance, right? A lot of people invest in information security and look at governance as a small part of the data team. But we are investing heavily in data governance. We are working with the best minds in the country also to look at audit our governance for process and policies. We are looking at, we are working with legal to set up some of the governance policies. We are also investing heavily in governance tools. Some of the things that I said, right, like having basic data cataloging is nothing but understanding what data you have, whether they have privacy problems or not, and how are they stored. How do you make sure your data flows, all your data flows are mapped, and how do you classify that? So all of and data quality comes under data governance, right? And not many companies are even investing at this point in data quality, but we are one of those who are pioneering in the data space at such an early stage to invest in data quality and into the overall data governance framework. So those presents its challenges, especially in India, where regulations is not yet very clear when it comes to tech platforms, pure tech platforms. See, we don't lend, so we become a pure tech platform. So regulations around data governance are not yet clear. But despite it, this is our way of acting as custodians to our customers, right? So, and hence we are taking a big step in terms of doing data governance, etc.
It was all very interesting to hear, Matangi. Thank you so much. I personally enjoyed listening to you because your technical knowledge is, really thorough. Are there any final comments that you would like to add, Matangi, before we conclude?
Yeah, so see, this is an interesting phase to be in data, and to be influencing organizations, influencing customers, uh, to be data led and to be data driven, right? There are, like it was in the past, we have seen data, like I said, more on hypothesis and validations, or in some cases an afterthought, or in few cases one POC that people will do with data. But full scale, running decisions through data is an evolution that we are seeing in this current market, and that's a great place to be in. It has its own challenges, because with any other kind of development, once you identify your product specs and then you start delivering, the delivery is over, right? Once you make a product, the delivery is over. With the data, After you put the model out, your delivery starts, because that's when you know whether it's working or not working, right? So which is why a lot of people don't take the risk of investing largely in data organizations, etc. They want to do a lot of POCs before they get convinced. But the market is changing, the landscape is changing. Yubi is one of the pioneers in this space. Data plays a front and center role in the company, and yeah, it's an exciting journey. So if you are in the data space, think through how data can make a difference to your business. And once, as a data scientist or a data engineer, you start thinking like that, right? It will change the entire perspective, and accelerate your business as well.
Thank you so much, Matangi, for sharing how UB, is delivering these products. What are the challenges you face? How you overcome them? And I'm sure there are a lot of data scientists out there who are in our audience who will thoroughly enjoy watching this. And thank you so much for your time. I really, enjoyed talking to you. Thank you.
Thanks, Supriya. Thanks for the opportunity. Thank you.
The pleasure was ours. Thank you.